Hello, everyone. Um, I'm pretty much here to resume on the topic of Ciara, of me exposing her character. Well, yeah. So, where I left off, I know I went in on, the financial abuse and the emotional abuse. But in this video, I want to talk about the verbal abuse and the psychological abuse. So let me first get started with the verbal abuse. So where I left off last time, I know I was telling you guys about how when I was in vulnerable, when she and I were living together and I was in vulnerable positions and how there were, different people just breaking in the house and attacking me. Well, after that experience, after that experience happened, uh, okay, well, before I go in, let me put a trigger warning in here because I'm about to go in. This trigger warning is for those who are easily triggered by sensitive topics such as childhood trauma or an assault or any topic involving human trafficking or anything like that. If that's too much for you, then please watch one of my other videos. It's a lot lighter, but today is going to be one of these videos where I'm going to have to talk about some rather gruesome details that need to be talked about, but I don't want to, but it needs to be said. So please brace yourselves. Okay, so when I was in the house by myself, these people would come in and they would attack me. They were very aggressive, they were very loud, they were very vocal about their disdain towards me, and they did not hesitate to show it when they knew that I couldn't fight back. And how they would attack me, these were neighborhood Crips at the time who came in and broke in my house and attacked me. And when I say attacked, it was a gang sexual assault. Okay, let me go in because I know that when anyone experiences any form of sexual assault, they have to go see a forensic doctor or forensic nurse, and they have to go get medically examined, right? That's the process that I had to go through. And I know that, when for those who have gone in there, they ask you what happened, if it was an assault, what kind of assault, was it physical, was it verbal, was it sexual? If it's sexual assault, was it, just oral, was it anal, was it intercourse? Was it coercion? Was it brute force? I know that these questions and these topics are very triggering for people who have either gone through that type of trauma or they have someone that they care about that have been through that trauma. I apologize in advance, but in order for me to expose Ciara's character and to get justice for myself and other victims that she has traumatized, I have to talk about the gruesome part of what happened to me. Okay? So while I was in the house by myself, the Crips, these were gang members, these were Crips that came in my house and broke in. Some of them were Decepticons, some of them were skin folks, but for the most part, they were Crips, regardless of their religion or their race. They were Crips. That's what they all had in common. So they broke into my house and they gang raped me. Ciara is largely responsible for what happened to me. She Excuse me. She knew that they were coming, and her intention was for me to be robbed of my finances. There was someone else who switched the plans last minute. Now, that person, I'm not going to talk about them in this video right now, but I'm just pointing the blame where it needs to go. And Ciara is largely responsible for what happened to me. And as much as I don't really want to give her credit, her only intent was to rob me. That was it. To just have me robbed by my finances. It was someone else that she was co-conspirating with that changed the plans, that made the robbery, turn the robbery into a sexual assault. Okay, I'm just gonna be fair. Okay, Ciara deserves. She is just as much to blame as the other person who switched plans, because she shouldn't have never turned her back on me like that. It was not her money, and if she needed money, she should have asked. She did not need the money. She was doing that out of insecurity and greed. Insecurity, greed, and envy. That's why she did what she did to me. She screwed me over. Okay? But her intent was to only rob me financially. It was somebody else that was crazier than she was in the background that turned it into a sexual assault. Okay? Now, what she did was just simply, sometimes there were times where she left the door unlocked, and then there was times where she would give someone access, whether it was the key or leave the door, manipulate the lock, or she would do something to where they were able to get access to me directly. And she knew that there was a possibility that things could have turned south, whether they would have assaulted me or killed me. She knew that that was a possibility, and she still chose to carry out the plan. So I'm still holding her accountable for conspiring against me when she didn't need to do that. She made that choice because she wanted to make that choice. She made that choice because she was cheating on me behind my back with someone else, and she got married with this person. Like, she got married to this person. I think they might have kids together. Like, she was just living this double life, and all while stringing me along instead of letting me go and let me go live my life. Because I'm just gonna be fair here. I made it clear to her that I wanted out of the relationship and I wanted out of the friendship. Like, because she and I were messing around for about 5 years. 2 out of those 5 years, she and I were in an actual relationship. And then 3 out of those 5 years was kind of like the breakup, the pre-breakup and post-breakup. So the pre-breakup was like taking a break, testing the waters, to see other people, seeing if, seeing other people is something that she and I really wanted, or if the relationship was still worth rekindling. And then and I'd say about half of that was, seeing other people, doing the whole swinger thing. And then about the other half of that, so I say about a year was, just messing around with other people. And then I'd say maybe the other 2 years was like kind of like the breakup phase of like split. Well, it was supposed to be a split of the finances, her moving out, her and I taking care of some financial debts that she and I had together while in a relationship, and kind of just like taking care of all that so that she and I can go our separate ways maturely. At least that was what I thought. So most of the time while I was with her, she and I were kind of like not, most of the time she and I weren't even in a relationship. It was the fact that, she and I had a car together. It was in both of our names. She and I was sharing the bank. It was basically like she and I were married, but not actually married. So it was like it took more time to separate from her, like I said, she and I had a car in the same name. Like, we both had our names on the car, so we both owned the car. So we both had to kind of figure out how we were going to split everything evenly. And towards the end of the relationship, I kind of was like, you know what, you could just keep that. Let's just focus on paying off debt so that we can just go our separate ways. Like, that's kind of where I was at this time. Now, during this whole process, she had gotten married to somebody else and, had moved on or whatever, all while blocking me from just simply going out on a date. Like, it was just, she was very, very controlling. She was very emotionally, psychologically abusive and manipulative, deceiving. I mean, she always had to have complete control over somebody's life. Like anybody that dealt with her, she just always had to have control over them. I just feel like for the longest time, she allowed her insecurities to control the way she treated people. And I was one of those people. Okay, so as far as, so anyway, so let me get back into the part where I was attacked. So when I was in the house by myself, all these different men would come and break in the house, and this was something that was a plot. Now Ciara is not a Crip. She's a Blood. Let me just make that clear, because if I'm gonna tell the community the truth, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And if there's any information that is like incorrect or if there's error, that was an honest mistake. I'm trying to be as honest with the community as possible because innocent children have gotten harmed during this process. You know what I mean? It's not just about me, it's about the children. So it's like, if I'm going to get justice for myself, I want justice for the innocent people that were harmed as well, more specifically, children. You understand where I'm coming from? And if our morals align, then you and I have something in common. You know what I'm saying? So when I was attacked in the house, I was gang raped. And this is something that happened more than once because I was being human trafficked. You understand? So however the perpetrators or the beneficiaries of me being trafficked, whatever their demands were, whatever their sexual desires were, I had to pay for that with my own body without my consent. I never got paid. You understand? Like, I had to pay for that with my energy, with my body, with my temple, with my pH balance, with my sanity. I had to pay for that. So whatever, Ciara's desire, like if she wanted to see me get hurt, it had to be in the way that she saw fit, not what I desired, not where my fetishes were. You see what I mean? So if, whoever the I don't know what you call people who are, I guess clients. I don't know what, but these are, you get the traffickers, and then I guess you would technically call them perpetrators if they are giving money. If a perpetrator is giving money to my trafficker, I guess that would be the proper name, is a perpetrator. But these perpetrators are, I'm sorry, excuse me, let me phrase that. Ciara, being my trafficker, would meet the needs of the perpetrator that was willing to pay the most money. Okay, so whatever their sexual desires were, my life, my wants, my needs didn't matter. You understand? The only thing that Ciara cared about was that paycheck. Was her success, was being at the top, was fulfilling her ego so that she didn't have to, be enslaved by her insecurities, because insecurities was a large part of why she treated me as poorly as she did. Wherever her insecurities were, that's not my place to say, because I'm not a therapist. Okay, that's not my job profession, and I ain't getting paid to, psychically analyze her. But what I can say is that her insecurities led her to mistreat me to the extent at which she did. And if she had to choose between the value of someone's life or a paycheck, she would always, almost always, choose the latter. So whenever she would come across a perpetrator that was willing to pay top dollar, my wants and my needs were no longer a consideration. So she would drug me and let the perpetrator do whatever they wanted to do. Whether it was one perpetrator, two perpetrators, 4, 8, 12, 15, 30, 100. It didn't matter how many there were, as long as she was getting paid what she felt like she earned from pimping me out. Okay, so let me just make that clear. Let me make that very clear. That's how abusive she was. That's how cruel she was. You know? So then whenever she did this, okay, she would do these acts. She would make fun of me in public for that. Okay, so whatever trauma that she inflicted on me for financial gain, she would talk about publicly. And you would think that, like, if someone is doing something wrong for money, they would have some type of shame or guilt or a guilty conscience or something like that. Like, you would think, like, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody has to live a life of a pimp because, they have to put food on their table, that they would have some shame. But with her, the way she treated me publicly, you wouldn't have never guessed that she felt any shame. Because she would make fun of me for being assaulted. Every single day, she would make fun of me for being assaulted. Like it was a joke, like I deserved it, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was funny. Like she would talk about, oh, well, like, let me just quote her for a moment. She would say things like, how you can avoid being raped is if you get an older boyfriend, or how you can avoid that type of stuff is if you don't ignore red flags. Like, she didn't show any remorse. It was just victim blaming responses. She would say things like, you need to wash your ass. You need to and like I said, I already gave the trigger warning, so y'all been warned, but I'm going in. But she would say inappropriate things like, you need to wash your ass, you need to wash your pussy, you need to go take a shower. Were you raped? She would say very inappropriate, or she would get other people to say these very inappropriate things to me after I had just gotten attacked. And she would perpetuate that same cycle of in my life 24/7. This is not an exaggeration. This is why she has the wealth that she has, because she exploited me and other black children. Do you understand? It's deep. But the reason why she has the money, the power, the influence is because she's grimy. It's because she's cruel. She's wicked. She won't hesitate to throw her own family members under the bus. And I wouldn't even doubt for a second that she wouldn't do this to her own children if she was willing to do it to me. I mean, that's just a theory. But, like, she would set me up to get attacked. She would make fun of me in public for it. So whatever, whatever happened, like if she witnessed me being assaulted, she would make fun of the way I responded to the assault. Or she would make fun of the odor that would come of that assault. Or she would, try to intimidate me by getting a group of people to follow me and try to bully me. Like, say if I'm walking, right? Like I'm walking, and then she'll get somebody like push me out the way like that. That's probably a horrible example, but like say like how you get those grocery store carts, when you go inside and you go grocery shopping and you got those carts, and you got to be wary of other people so you don't bump into them. Well, she would do that thing where she would have people follow me around the store and block my entrance, and like it was just very passive aggressive type of behavior. She wouldn't say this to my face, but she would speak around me, or she would get other people to disrespect me. And like I said, she made it a thing to continuously make fun of me for being assaulted and being a victim of childhood trauma. Like saying inappropriate things like, oh yeah, you liked it. You liked that. You like being raped. Like just very inappropriate like comments, like, oh yeah, just like laughing like it was a like, you know what I'm saying, like she's laughing like we just watched a Tyler Perry play, and she's talking about my childhood trauma. She's talking about trauma that I faced while being trafficked as an adult, and she's cracking jokes like it's a knock joke. like very sadistic, very cruel, very inappropriate, to the point where, I noticed like people kind of, her getting in trouble for it. Like I witnessed her getting in trouble for it a couple times because she was very loud, very boastful, her verbal of slander towards me and my trauma. She publicized this. I didn't say anything to anyone publicly. However, I needed to handle that situation, I handled it legally to where I didn't incriminate myself. Y'all hearing me? I handled it. I spoke to whoever I needed to speak to about the situation. Do you understand? And I handled it however a traumatized victim is supposed to handle it and how they're legally advised to do so. Do you understand where I'm coming from? The way she chose to handle it, on the other hand, was to make fun of me publicly for being a victim and for her victimizing me. So for another example, just me quoting her words was, oh, well, I was handling business while my bitch was out here tricking, and, she was I had her walking on the strip. Now, I know she's talking about me. Now, she didn't say any names. She's not talking to me directly, but she's talking at me. So some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all have witnessed her talking trash, and you probably seen her looking at me while saying these inappropriate things, and you kind of put two and two together that she was talking about me. Some of y'all may have witnessed her in the act of trafficking me, or you may have grown suspicious by the manner of the dynamic. How, I was suffering and I was still on the streets, homeless, wearing the same clothes, bummy clothes, while she has all this money, all this success that she never had before she met me. Like some of y'all are, some of y'all are street savvy. Some of y'all know exactly what's going on. I know that some of y'all are whatever lane you in, that's the lane that you in, So some of y'all know what's up. Some of y'all figured out what was going on. And some of y'all are probably putting two and two together right now. And the dynamic is that it was very, very, very parasitic. The connection that I had with her was very, very parasitic. And I tried to pretty much do everything I could to get out that dynamic. But it was like she pretty much... Yeah. I'm going to talk about that later in a second. White people, how they always conveniently walk by when I'm talking about something that's like, it's a very spicy topic, very, you know what I'm saying, I'm going in, and they always got to come around and pop up, and yeah, I'm gonna talk about that in a second. Okay, so you seen that security guard and that white lady? I'm gonna talk about that later. That's not the purpose of another one. That's not the purpose of my video. And I don't want them to, to distract me from what I was talking about, because what I'm saying is very important and needs to be said. Okay, so I tried my very best to get out of that dynamic, and no matter where I go, Ciara follows me, like everywhere I go, and she's done everything that she could, to prevent me from moving forward. And she would emasculate me on a daily basis. She would, like, it's very difficult to explain, because, okay, so like, for example, me moving out here to Arizona was my personal choice. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, not even my healthy support. I didn't tell nobody. Me moving out to Arizona was a personal choice. This was something that I needed to do for myself, and I don't expect anyone to understand. but I did this for me, and I don't regret moving out here to Arizona. It's a very beautiful place, but this was something that I needed to do for myself. And let's just say that Ciara ended up finding out where I was, and I kept my location a secret for years. And I was doing just fine out here too. And I'm not saying that every state and every city don't have their problems. I'm just saying that when I first moved out here to Arizona, like, I was doing really well, exceptionally well in comparison to how I was when I was living in the same state as her. I was doing a lot better. I was taking better care of myself. I was getting a whole lot of support from people. I was doing a lot better, and you could see, like, for those who know me from my past, you could see an improvement in my behavior, because I was, it was like one of those things where, when you grow up in a toxic environment all your life and then you finally move somewhere else, even if it's another toxic environment, it's not as bad because you don't know the people that are there, and they don't know you, and it's like a fresh start. And it's like whoever you really are, like, that's who you could present to people, and people respect when you're genuine and when you're honest, especially when you're tolerable to be around and you're being yourself. They respect that. And a lot of strangers will end up being the people who show support, right? Well, in this instance, when I moved to Arizona, that's exactly what happened. Arizona has its goods and its bads, its ups and downs, but like I said, I received a lot of support originally. And I was doing fairly exceptional for a homeless person, and I was happier, doing better. I mean, it's just, I can't explain it, but I was just, slowly getting back on my feet. And then Ciara found out where I was at, and she ruined it again. Like, she's ruined everything all the time, But when I moved out here, I was doing a lot better than I was, beforehand. Because I was around strangers and they didn't know me. I didn't know them, and it was like a fresh start. Until Ciara came out here and ruined that. And there was a pattern of me being somewhere, not causing no problems, not bothering anyone, just kind of just doing my own thing, minding my own business, and taking care of my adult responsibilities. And Ciara would just come. A lot of times I don't even know, like, how she found out, what her motive was. I don't know. Like, I mean, because when she and I had gone our separate ways, she discarded me, and I stayed dedicated to that no contact. I don't know what was going on in her life. I wasn't focused on what was going on in her life. I had moved on, and even though what she did to me was very traumatic, very unacceptable, I found a way to make peace with it and accept what happened and get help, And like I said, there were a lot of supporters in the community that had my back, and they took really good care of me, and they helped me get back on my feet. I mean, I was still homeless, but, I still, like, I was so close. Like I said, I was so close to getting a job. I was so close to, having my own apartment. I was so close when I moved out here. I was really, like, doing exceptionally well considering what I had come from. And when Ciara moved out here to Arizona and she found out I was living out here, she ruined that again. Just like she ruined everything. She ruined my life when I was living in Chicago. She ruined my life when I was living in Wisconsin. She ruined my life when I was living in Texas. And now she's further continuing that cycle in Arizona. And she won't stop. She keeps doing it to the point where, like I said, I had to make these videos exposing her. Not because I'm just hating on her or like I'm just trying to dry snitch her out. It's because she won't leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I know that with narcissists, sometimes you can't always just tell them I'm leaving. You can't just say that to a narcissist, like, I'm leaving, or leave me alone, or no, we can never speak or talk again. Like, I know you have to be strategic, but some narcissists are so controlling and so obsessive that you just have to tell them, like for example, like for those who are, have gotten to the point where they have to get a protective order for against a person, or an injunction against harassment, or a restraining order against someone. I don't know, like for those who are like very law savvy, or y'all are law advocates, y'all know about the I forget what you have to like. The justice system strongly advises people to send a no contact letter, or so. I don't know if that's the exact name. If I'm gonna find out the name of this letter, I think it's called a no contact letter, or it's a I think that's what it's called. But they strongly advise that you write this letter to the person that you were trying to get away from you. They strongly advise that you write this letter to the person, so that when you two go to court, right, and you say, oh, and the judge asks, why you want to, get the order and stuff like that, and you say, oh, well, I've already sent this person a letter, a no contact letter, saying that basically you are not to contact me anymore. Don't show up. Don't call me. Don't contact me. Don't give me anything. It's just basically one of those types of letters. It's kind of like an alibi, so that like when you tell someone that you're kind of like, when you like either break up with a person in the relationship, or when you break up with a friend, or when you cut someone off, and you let them know like, hey, I'm officially in writing, discarding whatever relationship I had with you, and I want to know that you've received my notice, right? It's kind of like, when they send a letter in the mail, like summoning you to court, or summoning you to, or like there's a warrant out for your arrest, or any type of letter notifying you of anything. There's documentation that there's a letter that's been sent. And whether the person wants to acknowledge whether or not they've received that letter is up to them. But the letter's been sent. The initiative has been taken, right? Well, that's kind of like, I know that when you do that with a narcissist, it's very dangerous, because they are very fragile-minded people. On top of the fact that like any slightest injury can lead to them having a narcissistic rage. So me sending a no contact letter to some of the people that I've cut off in the past was very dangerous for me, because if they were willing to harm me while they had no probable cause, imagine what they would have done to me if I sent them a no contact letter, a notice of no contact. Do you know some of them was already plotting on trying to kill me before I even stepped out the house? You know what I'm saying? Like some of them I hadn't even had that conversation with about cutting them off, but I guess maybe they had insecurities or suspicions that it was going to get to that point. I don't know, but I hadn't even had that thought in my mind yet that I was going to cut them off, and they were ready to try to kill me and cut me off and take all my money and stuff. You understand? So imagine if I had sent some of them a letter saying, don't contact me, don't ask me for anything, don't give me anything. Do you know what some of them would have done to me? Like for real, they was quick to throw me under the bus for something I didn't even do yet, or suspicion, or insecurity, or something like that. They were willing to screw me over and tear my life apart. Imagine what they would have done if I had sent them that no contact letter, informing them that they could not reach out to me anymore. Warning them that they could not reach out to me, or there was going to be legal repercussions, what some of them would have done. You understand what I'm saying? Like how dangerous that was? Now, I'm not saying that I'm strongly advising that, whatever your situation is with a narcissist, like whatever your intuition is, like, you follow that. Like whatever your intuition is telling you to do and how you need to handle it. Every narcissist is different. Not all of them snap like that. Some of them do, some of them don't. But yeah, basically, yeah. But anyway, so like going back to Ciara. There's been a pattern of her kind of like messing up my life. And I don't know who knows, who doesn't. But I felt like it was it was very important for me to kind of talk about this because I feel like people still kind of doubt me to this day. Like, they question my sanity. And I don't blame them for that. It's just they need to know what happened first before they start, pointing fingers and making judgments. It's like you got to know the whole situation before you start pointing fingers and making judgments. Because if you don't know what happened, it's gonna look like victim blaming. Even if that's not the case, like even if there's some people that are fair-minded and they want to get down to the bottom of what happened, and they have to find out for themselves like what happened, or they may need to do a little digging, or they may not be taking anyone's side because they don't they're neutral, they don't know what happened, and I don't blame them for that. But for those that are quick to kind of put in their opinion without knowing the full story, it's probably best that you find out what happened before making any commentary. Because if you don't know what happened and then you find out later that I was actually telling the truth, I've had a lot of people that I cut off because they jumped to conclusions and they didn't even consider my feelings enough to ask. They didn't consider my feelings enough to ask what happened. I feel like some people's characters were exposed and their hidden animosity towards me, got exposed when the stuff hit the fan. I feel like their their intentions towards me kind of got exposed at some point, because they didn't really like me to begin with. So when some information about me that they didn't like came out, they were quick to flip on me. And then when they found out what really happened, the truth of what really happened, some of them backpedaled and apologized to me, but by then it was already too late. You understand? Because they had already made their slick comment. They had already made fun of me. They had already said what they had to say. And when the truth came out and they found out that I was actually a victim and that what happened to me was unwarranted and unprovoked, they ended up having a change of words, but they had already, their true colors had already came out. Like they had already been exposed as a fake friend or a hidden enemy. So it was too late. By the time that they were ready to apologize, the damage had already been done. But this just goes to show how if you have a narcissist in your life and you lose people, those people were going to be a hindrance in the future. Because I had made that mistake of befriending people who had already insulted me before they had gotten my side of the story, and giving them another chance, giving them a second chance. And they had proven to me that, they were never my friend to begin with. So when Ciara's abuse towards me became public and they turned on me without asking me my side of the story, they had already made it clear that they didn't like me and that they didn't support me. So there was no point in me accepting their apology and giving them a second chance, because they had already shown me their true colors. You see what I mean? And that's just an example of what a lot of people have to go through when they kick a narcissist to the curb, or when the narcissist discards them, is that, they end up losing a lot of people. But a lot of these people were hidden enemies, and they were always hidden. It wasn't a situation where y'all were friends to begin with and then things changed. No, they were always an enemy. And if you had given them a second chance and accepted their apology, they were going to become a future hindrance, and it was going to be a whole lot harder to get rid of them the second time around than the first time. And the first time was painful, I know, but it's better to let it go that first time than to let them back around, and then you end up having to get a restraining order to get them out your damn life. It's a lot of people that they showed me their true colors to begin with, and I just kind of pacified it. I gave them the benefit of the doubt, gave them a second chance, and I live to regret it, because it's taken an arm and a leg and a whole entire life cycle to get rid of them. when I should have just, let them walk away the first time. I regret that. Ciara was one of those people where when she showed me her true colors, I ignored the red flag. I welcomed her back into my life, and now it's taking. I have to pull nail and teeth to get rid of her when I could have just let her go the first time and had moved on and been moved on. You see what I mean? So this is just a testimony of how keeping people around when they show their true colors, how that'll be the biggest mistake you'll ever make, because some people, when they show you their true colors, when their mask comes off, they have the mentality of the only way you getting rid of me is if I kill you. Some people have told me that. Some narcissists in my life have told me that if they cannot have me, no one can. And that the only way that we are departing is through death. Some of them have told me that to my face. But imagine if I had let them walk away when they walked away the first time. Or when I cut them off, if I had not backpedaled, where would I be today? And I just want to share that testimony for those who, may be wondering what's going on, or they may have their own difficulties in their own life, and they're dealing with people who are either narcissists or very similar to that. Some people may wonder, like, what do I do in that situation? Cut them off. You can find out why, but trust me, you don't want to find out. You don't want to find out, because if you end up finding out, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the hard way. Experience is the best teacher, but some things you don't want to experience. You don't want to experience trauma. You don't want to experience gang assault. You don't want to experience being gang stalked, followed home, attacked everywhere you go. You never know when you know what I'm saying? I know that y'all believe in some of y'all believe in a higher power. So for those who do believe in one, you know that you're good no matter what. But I'm just saying, it's like, narcissists, when they know that you're done with them, more specifically, when they know you are done with them, they become very violent. They become very obsessed. And some of them will bother you every single day until they put you in the ground. Because some narcissists are so unhinged that when you stop talking to them, when you go no contact with them, they don't want to live with that reflection in the mirror. So some of them are willing to, I hate to say this, but some of them are willing to murder a person than to live with some of the things that they've done, or to look at themselves in the mirror for who they are without that mask. Okay? Now, I talked about the verbal abuse that C has put me through, but I didn't tell you about the emotional and the psychological abuse that she put me through. With the leading me on and having me thinking that, she and I were going to be in like a committed relationship, or it was going to be a loyal friendship. Regardless of what I was hoping for at that time, she led me on to believe that that was what that was, and that's what it was going to be, when she had ulterior motives. Like she believed in polygamy, but she knows that I practice monogamy. And so she would be in all these other relationships, and I'm trying to be loyal and faithful to her, and she would be entertaining all these other people. And to mention the fact that she had wholeheartedly gotten married to someone else while she and I were still in a relationship. And not to mention that she false imprisoned me, meaning that she held me hostage for no probable cause at all. There was no crime that I committed. She held me against my will because she wanted to hide the abuse that she was subjecting me to. So she pretty much destroyed my love life, destroyed my social life. She destroyed my reputation. She assassinated my character, all just to keep a secret that she molested me. All just to prevent people from finding out the horrible, horrible, horrible sexual abuse that she put me through. So she was willing to take away my free will and violate my human civil rights so that no one would ever find out what she did to me. And also, not to mention the fact that she plagiarized my work. I'm going to repeat for those in the back that did not hear me. She plagiarized and copywritten my work. So, like, for example, like some beats that I may have produced, she flat out stole them from me, right from under my nose. No, I wrote lyrics for her. She did not pay me. She did not pay me. She's refused to pay me. She has a lot of money, so much damn money, and I'm still homeless. She's had all this money, all this success, and the only thing that she's focused on is preventing me from having any healthy support. She's still isolating me from people, making sure that I don't have any friends, making sure I have no one to go to. Like for example, if I reach out to someone healthy, she'll cut off my phone line. Like, she's just very controlling, very manipulative, and very abusive. Very, very much so. And it's been very difficult to be patient with her, because she's extremely disrespectful and controlling. And she, like I said, she emasculates me to a daily basis. So I'm going to talk about the emasculation next. But I want to talk about how controlling she's been over my life, over my peers, just, excuse me. Excuse me. So so she has gone out of her way to sabotage my love life, to be specific. How? I don't know all the details, but what I can say is that, like, she would use, like, her looks, and she would, like, be very promiscuous to, like, control people. So, like, if she saw that either I was interested in someone or someone was interested in me, sometimes she would, like, the term that people use, cock block, and she would, like, make a pass at that person, or she would try to send someone else their way to distract them from coming towards me, or sometimes she would send someone towards me to, like, bully me or to make me look weak so that that person saw me as undesirable. She would also do things like force me to wear like women's clothes. She would force me to wear women's excuse me, y'all, I'm sorry. I got really bad allergies during this time of year. Like, the winter time is the worst for me. So y'all might be hearing me sneeze and cough, and I apologize in advance. I cannot control that. I'm doing the best I can to suppress the coughs and the sneezes, but if I slip up every now and then, just please excuse me, bear with me, be patient with me. I apologize in advance. I don't have the best immune system right now. Okay, that's just a side note. But okay, so with the situation where, after she and I had, like, long had stopped talking, and it had been years since I had seen her or talked to her or anything, and I'm, dating, like, dating, seeing people, talking to different people, trying to form friendships and stuff like that, like, just connections. It could be business, it could be anything, right? And, more specifically, she would really, like, go out of her way to interfere in, like, whatever healthy connections that I had with people. More specifically, it started, like, recently it started to be like my love life and, like, future, like, business opportunities, or, like, just opportunities in general that could have really helped me elevate and like, help me get out of my financially destitute situation. Like, there was a lot of opportunities that were offered to me that she directly, or in some cases indirectly, but for the most part, she intentionally sabotaged. you know. So she would do this, and she did this for a very long time. She really started going in and doing it when she and I had stopped talking. I would say she and I like stopped talking the last time I remember. I want to say it was like maybe 2019 or something like that. Like this was right before I left Texas and came to Arizona, because I had stayed in Texas for a little while. Like this was a couple of years, maybe two and a half years after she and I had gone permanent no contact. I had stayed in Texas for a couple of years, and then I came to Arizona, and I've been here ever since. And when I went no contact with her, it did take me a while to pick up the pieces to the damage that she had done, because she still do. It was like when I had stopped talking to her, or when she stopped talking to me, the damage that she had done, it escalated. But I still kind of had to find a way to survive, despite the fact that she was starting to become more violent, and the gang stalking was starting to become more apparent. Um, it was just a lot of things were starting to take place during that time, and I kind of had to handle it the best way that I could. And she's the reason why, like, I haven't been employed for a while. Like, I mean like document, like employed, like legitimately employed, where I could like get paid, get a net worth, pay taxes. Like I haven't been able to do any of that because I've been trafficked so heavily, and it's gotten worse because now I'm being held. I mean, I was always held hostage, but there were certain liberties that I had when I was connected to the narcissist that I don't have anymore. Like I can't even get a job because the narcissist is always, I'm speaking in third person now, but Ciara is always blocking me somehow, some way. Like I don't, I'm not exaggerating when I say this. She follows me around every single day. She knows my every move because she is always tracking me somehow, whether she's doing it directly or she's getting people to watch me or she's tapping into my phone lines. She's always keeping tabs on me. I can't do anything without her breathing down my neck or sending somebody else to breathe down my neck on her behalf. It's been very difficult to survive without the help of the higher power because she is so controlling. You understand? Like, just the fact that she stole millions of dollars from me and had me out on the streets begging for food, and the fact that I wrote lyrics for her, she never paid me. She blocked me from getting my copyright. She plagiarized some of my work. She forged some of my signatures, pretended to be me in certain instances. Like, it's been very difficult to pick up the pieces in my life from what the damage that she has caused. I've tried the very best that I could to get my life back in order, but she every single day makes sure that that does not happen. And it doesn't matter who she has to get involved to do it, whether it's local police or if she's paid someone off. She makes sure that I stay at the bottom and I stay right where I'm at. That's why I've had to expose her character. She'd come back in my life in my vulnerable moments, and she would take advantage of me. Like I said, she would sexually abuse me. She's been molesting me for years. She's been sexually abusing me for years, and she's still doing it. Playing these mind games, pretending like she's compassionate, like she cares, when she's a psychopath. And I don't really know I don't know any other way to explain it, to where I've tried to make it PG-13. I've tried to explain it in the best way that I could, to where I don't trigger someone or make it worse by expressing what I'm saying. I'm not, like I said, despite the fact that what she did to me was real messed up, I'm not exposing her to slander her. I'm not exposing her to get revenge or to see her to get karma. I have no interest in watching her get karma. I just want to get justice for myself. This is about me. This is about what I want. Because not one person in my family has ever asked me what I wanted. Not one person in my family has ever asked me what I needed or what they could do to help, except one person. And the one person that did ask me in my family turned on me. So again, my needs, my wants was never my family's concern. Because if my family was concerned about what I needed and what I wanted, they would have never humiliated me to the extent at which they did. They would have never thrown me under the bus and scapegoated me the way they did. And they would have never disrespected me to the extent at which they did. If my needs were even thought of or considered, I wouldn't even be posting this video, having this conversation. Because what would I have to complain about, right? But the only time that my family members have ever given me what I needed or what I wanted was to keep me quiet because I was exposing their character. That was the only time they ever offered anything I ever needed or wanted, for that matter. And they always took it back. Always took it back. My family members would punish me for giving me what I needed. Say if I was hungry and it looked bad because I was hungry and I was the only member of the family that was out on the streets and it made them look bad. They would hurry up and buy me some one outfit or something. They'd buy me something to make it look like they're showing support. And then they would make me pay for it later. Or they would see it as, oh, well, even though I forced you to be dependent on me, you're taking my gifts as a form of payment, which means you owe me something later, like what's implied, which is sexual abuse. So I'm being punished for being financially destitute and being forced to depend on them for food, for money, for clothing, for housing, for showers, for shelter. And then when I receive any of those resources, I get punished through human trafficking. I get punished through being character assassinated and gang stalked and hazed on a daily basis. And it's only gotten worse for me. The hazing has only gotten more obsessive, more consistent. I've done my very best to be compliant to the law. Compliant. Humble. I try to be respectful at all costs. Even if I felt like I wanted to be vain or I wanted to be disrespectful. I held back and I was still punished for it. So this is why I'm exposing Ciara's character, because she won't leave me alone. She won't leave me alone. I have a restraining order against her and she still won't leave me alone. She just won't do it. There's been times where I told her to leave me alone. And I hear one of her flunkies saying, "Shut up, bitch." All because I established a boundary. I mean, I don't want no smoke. Like, I'm not trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to flex. I'm not trying to make myself seem better than nobody. I just don't want to be harassed every day for the rest of my life. Like, that's not something I should have to go through, being a victim, being traumatized at the tender age of 3 years old. Like, I shouldn't still have to be going through the same exact experiences. If I'm manning up and I'm taking responsibility for my life and my actions and I'm improving my behavior, I shouldn't have to go through the same experiences or worse than what I went through before, right? Isn't it psychology to where when you realize that what you're doing is not working and you switch it up and you do something better, especially morally better, for my own benefit, if I'm eating better, if I'm making better choices, if I'm hanging around people that are more compatible with the way I'm trying to live my life, shouldn't I be living a better life? Why am I still being subjected to being human trafficked? Why is things getting worse? Like, shouldn't things be getting better? Why do I have to keep living that same sad sob story? Like, I feel like every single video that I make, it's the same sob story of me being human trafficked by my mother, me being hazed and gang stalked and talked about, dogged out and disrespected. Like, it just, It's messed up, but I mean, it's not really much that I could do about, but I just wanted to let y'all know that Ciara is the type of person that screws people over to get to the top. She screws people over to get what she wants. And when her insecurities are triggered, she behaves in such a way that would force a person to cut her off. That's all I really had to say about Ciara. I mean, I've exposed her character. I've exposed everything that I know about her. If there's any new information, I'll make another video. But this is the first time in a while that I actually got to make a full video without being cut off, without it being chopped. And I got to say what I needed to say. Deuces.